Now that we've got the basics of navigation all sorted out, let's deal with adding shapes. In TinkerCAD, this is incredibly easy. You have a list of shapes here, you have all of your shape libraries, and you could just drag and drop shapes to your will, and they actually stack on top of each other, which is a relatively recent update. So, for example, you can create shapes like this pretty easily. In Blender, this is very different. Let's head over to Blender here. And you'll see actually when you load in the app, you get three things as default. You get a camera, a light, and the cube. And in case you didn't notice up here, I actually have all of these saved in the main collection. This is the scene collection, and you can select objects by clicking up here and organize them as well, which is very easy if you have a lot of objects and you can change. So for example, I can change this to camera 1. If I have multiple cameras, I can find them by searching, or I can just look them up individually. What we're going to want to do is actually delete all of these objects to begin with. Deleting is very easy. You can select an object and press X, enter, or you have a delete key on your keyboard, you can use that as well. Selecting every object is as simple as pressing the A key. So if we want to delete everything that's in the scene, we'll press A, X, and then enter. And as you can see, it will give you that little warning down there that you deleted 2 objects. So Blender can look very, very scary because there's a lot of sub-menus, a lot of hidden things that all look very complicated. But the truth is, in the beginning, you're probably not going to be using any of these things up here or a lot of the menus that are hidden. So to add an object, you're going to want to press Shift A on your keyboard, and you should get this menu. For now, let's stick to Mesh. And here you might see some of the more useful items that are present in TinkerCAD. For example, a cylinder in Blender will also be right here, cylinder. So let's start by adding a cube, because that will be the most obvious thing to do. As you can see down here, we have add cube. If you want to open this up, you can change the cube's properties. For a cube, this isn't as important, but for example, if I'm adding a cylinder, as you can see here, the key thing is you don't want to move it. So when you add it, you get this menu here. If I want to change the number of vertices, for example, let's make this 1 to 8 to make it higher res, you get that. And that's a lot smoother, and you can pretty much go as high as your PC allows. So that's already one more thing that's a lot more powerful than TinkerCAD. In TinkerCAD, 1 to 8 is the max, but I could go up to thousands and thousands on Blender. Right, so now we have these 2 shapes. Let's actually go ahead and delete those. I'll show you a couple more of the ones you can add. You can have, for example, a cone. Again, we can change the vertices there all the way down to 3, which is the lowest that it can go. So you have to have like a sort of relative idea of geometry to get Blender right. Again, major, minor segments, all of these sorts of things. So actually, let's just go back to a cube so I can show you a couple of the more useful things. When you open this up, this menu might not already be open. If not, you press on the button there. I just have a couple plugins there, so you can ignore those. You can see the location, rotation, and the scale of the object, as well as the dimensions. So this is what I was saying about the dimensions. It's a bit hard to judge sort of just by looking at it without seeing right here. And we'll get to the measure tool in a second as well. So if I want to make the dimensions, for example, 5 and 3, let's do this first in Blender, and then I'll show you in TinkerCAD. It would just be as easy as putting 5, 3, and whatever the final length was, 2 here. So that would be how you do it in Blender compared to TinkerCAD. For location, rotation, and scale, let's cover these one at a time. Let's start with location. If I want to change the location of this in TinkerCAD, I'd literally just pretty much pull it, right? Just make that a little bigger so it's easy to see. Just pull it around and you can change the location. It actually tells you where. But this isn't very precise, and you can't actually really control a lot of these things, although it's gotten a lot better since I last was really using the software. You can, of course, change the location here, but an easier keyboard shortcut to do this will be pressing G on your keyboard, G for grab, and then you can move it around. So obviously, just direct your attention to this bit next time I grab. It will change because you're not looking at it from a particular angle. It sort of just moves it wherever you want it to be. So dx, that's the change in x, that will be minus 0.1, change in y, 0.16, for example, etc., etc. So say I want to move it along the x-axis by 5 meters. Again, direct your attention to the top left. I'm going to press G, then I'm going to press X to lock it along the x-axis essentially. Then I will press 5, and you can see top left corner, D, and then in the square brackets that's 5, moving it 5 meters along global X. Then I will press Enter on my keyboard. And as you can see down here, it just initialized that command. Or you can do it here as well. This is another easy way. So I can move it 10 and then -5, and then it's essentially just positioned it there. Right, let's get that back to starting point, and then let's talk about rotation. Rotation, another keyboard shortcut here, will be pressing R. And then you can sort of rotate it. The thing is, when you just press it, it doesn't really have like a locked in way of doing it, so it just sort of moves it anywhere, which isn't very useful. But let's just press R again. R, Y, we can move it, rotate it 90 degrees along Y, or we can rotate it minus, let's say, 270, for example. It does the same thing, but minus 270, and you can see top left corner again, rotation, minus, open brackets, 270, close brackets, along global Y. Let's just press escape to stop that from happening. And yes, essentially, that's what we've got done, which is pretty cool. And then finally, scale. The beautiful thing about this is you can scale it up by scale factors. I'm pretty sure that in TinkerCAD, the only way of doing this, if you wanted to make this 2 times larger, would be to multiply all of these by 2. But in Blender, you can just press S, scale factor 2, along all of them. Again, top left corner, X2, Y2, Z2. And we've got this. Or if you want to get it back, or you can just change it, for example, you can change it by scale factor, half. Boom. That's very, very effective. And then you can also change it by scale factor along the y-axis. There we go. Longer, smaller. And I'm getting all of this just by moving my mouse and playing around with it, which is what I'll do a lot of the time when I'm making something with scale, because I don't have the particular numbers in my head. The final thing I'm going to want to show you guys is the measure tool. I think TinkerCAD has something similar to this. Yeah, here we go, the ruler tool. It's not very good. I don't really know how to use it because it's something kind of new. No, there you go. You can see all the measurements. TinkerCAD has this, but it's not as good because, as I said, TinkerCAD isn't designed primarily as a CAD software. It's sort of an animation software and all of that kind of stuff. So let's just go to orthographic view along X, zoom in, pan, and then let's get the ruler tool, which will be found here. And then I will select a point and I will drag it. Again, this isn't very exact. I mean, it is to 5 decimal places, so 4.002. Obviously, there's going to be a bit of, I'm going to get a bit of error there because I'm not choosing. And you can also choose angles. So say I wanted to like line it up there, then you can get a measure, get a ruler there. Not incredibly useful, but it is nice to get a rough estimate of the sort of lengths you're working with. In the next video, I'm going to show you guys edit mode, which is essentially how you can change things around on a shape. And this is where Blender starts getting really powerful and you get to do a lot of things that's not possible in TinkerCAD. So stick around for that.